Welcome back to Conversations with Corey. It's where I will sit down with friends or peers to have an open and honest conversation about a topic that aligns with our DE&I value, stand for equality. At AT&T, representation matters across the board, from our employees to our supply chain. And through our supplier diversity program, we seek to help stimulate job growth, improve opportunities for technical training, and also to be a catalyst to stimulate new diverse businesses. For today's conversation, I am excited, I am honored to chat with one of our longtime suppliers and partners, Betty Moneta. Betty is the CEO of Argent Associates. She has been recognized as an industry expert and as an advocate for women and minority-owned businesses. Betty and her companies have grown a lot since we first did business with her nearly 24 years ago. So I'm really looking forward to checking in. Also joining us is my colleague and my partner, Rachel Coots. She's the Vice President of Consumer Supply Chain and Global Logistics here at AT&T. Rachel leads an organization of more than 1,100 diverse employees, and she also oversees our supplier diversity and sustainability programs. So as we recognize Women's History Month, I think about how it is an imperative for the advancement of our society to empower as well as enable women's financial independence and entrepreneurship. Betty and Rachel, thank you for joining me today. Look, before we get started though, how about both of you introduce yourself? And Betty, I'll start with you.
Thank you, Corey. I did start my business 24 years ago, like many entrepreneurs out of my house. We started as a value-added reseller and then enhanced our supply chain with value-added services such as engineering, installation, test and turn-up of various mobile technologies. We also, at the request of AT&T, received certification to do removals of legacy equipment and provide reselling, recycling, and repurposing of legacy technologies. Today, we're focusing on technology that can assist in reducing energy consumption. We're headquartered here in Plano, Texas, with facilities in New York, New Jersey, Georgia, North and South Carolina, Florida, and Michigan. So, Corey, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Cool. We're glad to have you. So, Rachel, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself as well?
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you for having me here. Really appreciate it. I have been with AT&T in some form or function since 1997. Started with AT&T Wireless in Detroit, Michigan. I now live in Dallas, Texas. I actually started on the wireless network side of the house. I was a radio frequency engineer designing cell phone networks, moved up into the network operations side of the house. The entire way, I started realizing that I really wanted to be on the business side, and so had some great conversations with my leaders. And over the years, they began to trust that that was something that I could actually do. I could make that transition. And so I'm really proud of AT&T and its leadership for giving me that opportunity, for taking somebody who started out on the engineering side and basically saying, hey, let's give her a shot on the business side. So I actually started with supply chain in 2009, worked my way up, have led almost every function in supply chain. And now I lead the most exciting part of supply chain, which is the consumer side of the house, which is basically overseeing and making sure that our customers have access to every product and service that we sell.
Cool. Thanks for sharing that, Rachel. Betty, you clearly have had a very successful, a very fruitful career in your work driving transformation and growth for companies really around the globe. As a Latina and as a business owner, share with us just your career journey and then how diversity has really been a differentiator and how it's made a difference for you and your company.
Sure, Corey. And as we discussed earlier, my career started with AT&T. I say that my entrepreneurial prowess really started from AT&T because of all the various different roles I've had. I worked in HR, I had bids and proposals, I had a quality job, then I did sales support for the Middle East and Africa, and then later on for the Caribbean, Latin America region. So with over 20 years of Western Electric, AT&T, and then later Lucent, this all prepared me to be an entrepreneur. Diversity has been an area we always struggled with, but especially, I think traveling and working in the Middle East, where women had their place in business, and I accepted that. Customers are always first, and I knew when to talk and how to conduct myself. So this all prepared me for the challenges we continue to face in very male-dominated industries, especially for Latinas and all women of color. Today, we see more doors opening because of our diversity than ever before. We still have a long road ahead, but with companies like AT&T, the path has less potholes than ever before. So I have to thank you and Rachel for all the work that you guys are doing in the background to make it a lot more pleasant journey.
So Betty, you've been partnering with AT&T in this capacity as a business owner, as a partner, a supplier of ours for 24 years. How is the partnership that you've had with us for that long, how has that supported the growth of your business into this multi-million-dollar enterprise that it is today?
Throughout the 24 years, AT&T has been transforming itself, and so have your suppliers, right? So you need to create value in the supply chain, and we did that. We took everything to heart. We provided new streams of revenues that we didn't have before. And again, I attribute our success to listening to our customer, to listening to AT&T, and not just because you're saying it, but I also can see the path forward.
Rachel, you said in your intro that, when you talked about your responsibilities here at AT&T, one of those responsibilities is leading our supplier diversity program. And let me share something with you guys that you will not hear Rachel say this because she is a very humble leader. But she leads one of the largest supplier diversity programs on the planet. So Rachel, talk to us a little about how the supplier diversity program has evolved as well as we've been transforming as a company.
I have such a passion around this supplier diversity program, so I could talk forever. But Corey, as you know, at AT&T, we're really proud of this program. We were one of the first corporations to start a supplier diversity program back in 1968. And at the time, we thought, hey, this is really great. And we've spent over $130 billion with a B over that amount of time. But what is it really that we're trying to do? As any good business leader has to do, you have to go in and look at the program and say, hey, it's great, but where do we need to evolve it as the business evolves? And quite honestly, as suppliers evolve. And what we noticed is, hey, we spend a lot of money with suppliers, but are we digging deep enough to understand whether or not we're spending with all segments of diversity? So in all candor, we took a look at our numbers. We used data-powered engineering, and we found out that our spend in the Black community was actually one of the lowest. And so we thought, oh my gosh, we've got to make a change here. We've got to change our supplier diversity program to truly reflect what we do in the business. We've got to have a revenue component to it. We've got to use data-powered engineering to understand where we spend, with what suppliers, and how many suppliers, quite honestly, because at the end of the day, we realized our mission had to change. Our mission, and really the supplier diversity community, had always focused on spend, with the notion that when you spend with suppliers, those suppliers, and especially diverse suppliers, will put diverse folks to work. But that's not always the case. And so everybody has to dig in. Betty is an awesome example of a leader who very much cares about the community and cares about putting diverse folks to work, but that's not the case everywhere. So we had to dig in. We had to truly say, hey, listen, our role is about improving the economics in our communities for our customers. So we developed an advocacy and a mentoring program. We took a look at both our tier one suppliers, which are suppliers we spend directly with, but then also started digging down into their supply chains and their supplier diversity programs to help them grow, to ensure that they're also spending with diverse suppliers.
You said so many things there that I want to emphasize. Rachel said we started the program in 1968. So that means we've been doing this for 50 plus years. $130 billion, billion with the B, as she pointed out. That is significant. But while those are really significant, I think one of the latter points she made is one that hopefully will resonate with you. One of the main reasons why we do this work is not only to help advance those diverse-owned suppliers, but the communities. This is about economic empowerment. In AT&T, we believe very strongly that that is one of the best ways to drive more equality in our society is via economic empowerment. And one of the ways we can do that is through this diverse supplier program. So thanks for everything you're doing, Rachel, and please keep doing it. While I have you, I want to talk a little bit about the digital divide. We have been very clear as a company how important that is to us and all of the reasons why, because we recognize that there is limited opportunity without access. And closing that digital divide and that homework gap is going to be another way to advance economic empowerment in communities across this country. We've committed over $2 billion to help close the digital divide. So, Rachel, from your perspective, in a diverse supplier perspective, what are we doing there to find partners, to work with partners to help close that gap?
I think supplier diversity fits into our digital divide initiative really well. So if you think about, and we're evolving our program again, and so now what we're really looking into is how do we utilize, and not just AT&T, but also our suppliers, more local diverse suppliers. So if we think about community engagement or empowering those communities, we think about as we go and we build out these underserved or unserved areas, why couldn't we do that with local diverse suppliers? How could we really ensure that as we're building out and closing the digital divide, we're also improving the communities by offering the work to folks within those communities?
Absolutely. And look, Betty, I know this is really important to you as well, because we've seen some of the work that you've done, but why don't you share with us, one, why is it important for suppliers and our partners to also tap into the talent that is in these underserved communities?
The way we assist in closing the digital divide is through economic empowerment, as we talked about. In order to provide economic prosperity, you need to provide jobs that pay well. One way we did this was to look at our warehouse employees, and when we were shifting from less warehousing, more technology-based work, we gave them training, since many of them didn't have college experience. And today, they're some of our best technicians, as we talked about earlier. We're proud of building that talent pool. And we have, by giving these Black and brown employees the skills to be able to buy homes, cars, send their kids to college. That's how you measure impact. So no different than what AT&T did for me.
So look, Betty, Rachel, I have truly enjoyed this conversation today. I want to thank you all again for taking the time out of your busy calendars to share with the team and our audience. So before we wrap up, though, I have one last ask of you. I want to wrap up with both of you sharing a piece of advice, some advice for future generations of women and women entrepreneurs.
My advice is to be gritty. I really like the word grit. To me, the word grit means when it doesn't work this way, then you've got a plan B, C, D, and E. Grit means that you show up, that you know that life is hard, that you know that things get hard, but you've got the energy, you've got the background, you've got the people behind you to help lift your spirits and get you moving again.
Cool. Betty?
Don't burn any bridges, because one day they may be your customer, right? And talking about grit, right? No doesn't mean no. It just means not now. And the last one that we always talk about, make sure you're making money. Otherwise, it's just a hobby. That would be my advice.
Excellent advice. Make sure you're making money, or is it just a hobby? I love that. All right. Hey, listeners, thank you for tuning in. Hopefully you found the conversation with these two women as valuable as I did. And I'll see you next time. Thanks.
To learn more about AT&T, subscribe to this channel, visit the AT&T newsroom, or watch more videos in the playlist seen here.